Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our trading/training room. So yesterday, quite the day. Hold on here a second. Here's the daily chart. And this was yesterday's session, a very strong day. And I think a lot of that might have come actually from rollover. Volume, surprisingly, well, I would call it light. This is the June contract now that I'm looking at. And you can see we had some larger days earlier, volume-wise anyways, on some smaller trading days. The whole key behind trading volume is that you want to see a proportional relationship. Volume is a relative indicator, so that means the volume bars back here have nothing to do with the volume bars over here. But it's all relative. So relative to what's been going on here, that volume bar seems a little bit small given the size of the amount of trading or the range that the market made. Most of that coming very, very early, and then the market kind of settling in. You can see today we are taking over from where the market left off. And today will be a very important day for the sellers. The sellers will need to recover this market if they are going to hold it down. Otherwise, we are going to break 7,200 and stay above 7,200. But as I pointed out before, it seems that with the sellers knocking the market down every time it got near 7,200, it seems reasonable to assume that they're going to try to do that again. And that's sort of where we're at right now, actually. For those of you looking to do your first in-sync eagle signal of the day or raptor signal, you've got it right here. So, oh, actually, pardon me, your first signal actually printing back here, the market drifting down a little bit quicker. I thought I'd try that first in-sync eagle signal, which does have a tendency to work out. Like I said, you raptor traders need not feel left out because you can do the same thing on the raptor. So you're just looking for that first signal that is in sync, in this case right here, because your bands are bearish. So you've got a number 1 and a number 3 signal both piggybacking on each other. And, well, it looks like the market at least got down to its profit objective. A little bit quieter than what we saw yesterday. Yeah, like Mark says, pretty good uptrend from yesterday's market. Let's see here what's going on in the overnight. Actually, relatively quiet in the overnight, this being the European session here. The Asian session had a little bit more follow through from the end of the North American session. But for the most part, look at this. This was yesterday's session. It was really a buy and hold kind of day. We don't see those kinds of days that much anymore. All right, so we're bouncing back and forth a little bit. I don't know if I want to call this a trading range just yet. Taking into consideration the last swing before the market opened. Maybe I will. We'll bracket that to start. I could do even just the high of the morning right here. Bollinger's starting to get a little bit more bullish. Technically, this is a rule of three signal that we just produced here on the Eagle. And that's looking like a fairly solid breakout. Let's see if we can get those reactionary bars to form. It's what you want to see after a breakout. Okay, a decent move. So the nice thing about this little rally that we've seen is that I don't need to wonder which resistance high was the important one. Was it this one? Was it this one? It doesn't matter. We've exceeded both at this point. Wow. Are we not going to get another chance here to get in again? Okay, the Raptor giving me my number one signal, and I may have to take advantage of that one. If the market's not going to give me any kind of hesitation here, I will look to buy the second push of that number one signal. All right, there we go. And I'm going to pull my stop here out of the way to start. Okay, we've got one reactionary bar, so what we're looking for now is a retest. We've had the breakout, we're looking for the retest. And ideally, I like to see two bars to confirm the breakout point. Okay, here we go. Profit target right near the median line. we could try to stretch it out, I suppose, to the primary resistance zone. Oops, wrong button. There we go. All right, so we've come back now on this number one signal. We've got the second push. We've engaged the order. I'm going to bring my stops back. Oh, come on. All right. I don't normally reverse on a trade, but I will consider reversing on this one. So what I'm going to look for now, because what's happened to us, we've got the breakout. The market should have gone higher, but it's not. It's starting to head lower. So you could take any old sell signal at this point. In fact, you could just sell the market if you wanted. Because the market has shown us it's not going up. So it's probably going to head down. First target would be the primary support zone. Is it quarter to the hour? Oh, it is too. Now this was just a blind sell. Ideally what you want to do is you want to wait for your signal to produce. We did have a signal to sell here on the Eagle, which I was a little bit late on. And then we also had a signal to short here on the Hawk. No trend change signal yet on the Falcon. That should be coming. All right, so now we have the proper number one signal, and coincidentally it occurred the same place where I sold from. Oh dear, still in the chop zone. Trying to leave the stop here far enough away to give the trade a chance. There we go. Here we come now with a hard edge bounce. That's the number 3 signal. Oh, just so reluctant to get outside of this range. Okay, well, we're testing the bottom end of the trading range, hence the hesitation. You may call this a breakout and a retest. It's really kind of borderline. Usually I like to see a breakout that looks like a breakout, but if it starts to turn lower at this point, given that we've got some lower swings going on, I would not be opposed to shorting it here. Well, they're thinking about it. Wow, just no follow through here this morning. Okay, I think it's probably time to get a little bit more aggressive with my stops again, because we're still within the sideways trading range. So what I'm going to look for is some sort of evidence that the market's going to try to head lower, at least for a bar or two, and I'll take that opportunity to roll my stops up. Well, come on, give me one more bar here. All right, I hope this isn't too early, but I'm going to reduce my stop at this point. And this is going to be critical here for the sellers now. They do need to recover the market at this point, or it's sayonara. Well, seems we have a bit of a constipated market here this morning. And here we are making a move to the upside again. Wow. Okay, well, let's see what they're going to do here. We keep waffling between bullish and bearish setups. Dug a little bit of a hole here, but not too terribly serious, not yet anyway. Okay, well, we're getting some buy signals. I don't know. We're still kind of within this morning's range. This morning's high and low, which is similar to some of these overnight highs that we saw. It's not easy to get a read on the market this morning. Like I said, we've had a decent bull swing, a decent bear swing. We've got a couple of buy signals here. that I'm debating getting on board with. If I get a second push entry on one of these signals, because now, especially if you look at something like the Falcon, certainly the Hawk, we've got some buy signals showing up. So right here, just a regular trend line touch signal, but the fact is it has a second push opportunity behind it. And it's a reaction here to the high of the morning. You know, the Bollingers keep flip-flopping as well, so just an odd kind of day here today. All right. Here we go. We've got this would qualify as a trend line bounce, a hard edge bounce. We are waffling a little bit. It would be a little easier if this high was a little bit closer, if these two highs were a little bit closer, because then I could easily do a second push above this one. I am going to put my just in case order to buy above here. And there we go. Now we're recovering to the short side again. All right, well, I'm going to leave that order parked there for just a moment as prices move back inside this bigger range. Yeah, like Mark says, it's a bigger swinging range when you look at the Eagle from yesterday to today. We've been in a range between 71.90 and approximately 72.20. Mark says he's got a couple of fib lines at those levels as well, around 72.20, where we just reacted, and 71.90 down here at the lows. And now we're bouncing higher again. So we've made some decent swings here this morning, but nothing really resembling a trend. And of course, a trending market is always easier to get into than a non-trending market. Okay, here we come again, producing now a number one signal on on the Raptor, a hard edge bounce here on the Eagle. But again, we're right in the middle of this great big trading range, so I'm maybe not as keen to try to get on board at this point. I've still got my order up here for whatever reason the market explodes to the upside. All right, back to the hard edge. We'll visit the Raptor here. I could put a trend line like this and use the trend line as a bit of a gauge. You can see our trading band very, very neutral, very horizontal. Likewise here on the Eagle, the hawk is all full of yellow bars. Overall, the market does have a bullish bent to it, and that's mostly from yesterday. Oops. Wrong button. There we go. Well, it's thinking about it. It's thinking about a rally. Nothing yet. All right, here comes another red bar buy warning dot on the Eagle. The Falcon a little bit more bearish, and the Raptor still dead neutral. Here we come with a hard edge bounce now on the Raptor. It's not going to print as one, but that's what it is. I'm going to try to be a little bit more patient here. I tried getting on early with a couple of trades. That did not work out so well. Okay, so we broke the trend line. There's a little bit of a pushback now. You could look at this as an earlier entry. You could also likely define this as a small range within a range. The market is not finding much in the way of motivation this morning, though. Okay, the Raptor's starting to turn over. We definitely have a rule of 3 here on the Eagle as well. You know what? I may throw a sell order in below here. We've breached these lows. I know I don't have a second push yet, so this is a little bit more aggressive on my part. What I'm looking at, though, is a market that seems to have been trying to get bullish, broke the trend line. Here's the pushback. Are the sellers going to try to keep the market down at this point? Come on. Oh, look at that. Right back inside that trading range. Wow. That was rude. Well, it's like I say, it's that kind of day. We are just stuck inside a trading range, and until we get outside that trading range, it's just going to be more of the same. Back and forth we go. Well, bit of a boring day, I know. Yeah, Floyd says check out the low ADX values. I'm using a 16 tick chart. I'm sure it's flatlined. You can tell just by the constant back and forth. And Mark, you got it. Mark says, unless the market is giving off a high probability for me, it's hand sitting time until that happens. Patience, grasshopper, as they say. Hey, way to go. Mark says I've managed to squeak out a couple of late filter entry trades. Happy with that. All right, here we go with another push to the upside. Honestly, though, until we get outside this range or see some sort of evidence that we're going to get outside of this range, we're probably just going to sit here for a while. All right, well, here we go. We got a little bit of a bullish break now. So if this is our sideways range, and I'm showing you this here on the Raptor, but of course it can be done on any of the tools. You could have seen the break this way or the range this way with the breakout here in which case you could have already gotten bullish off of this number one signal as the market broke the reaction. We'll see if we get any sort of pushback here. Bollinger's definitely bullish already. We'll see if there's anything resembling a retest of this breakout. If we can get a bear bar forming here, that will at least give me a level to buy above. All right, I'll use that bar as this will be my just in case entry right there. And I'm going to, well, we don't have much going on here, so let's swing for the fences. I'm going to get my stop loss out of the way for now. And here, let's look for a move back to around the 72.50 zone. There we go. We got filled. And now I can bring my stop loss order back. Here we are challenging the highs of the morning one more time. Okay, now at this point I could take the trade to break even. We're off to such a promising start. And we did hit our high probability profit target. There we go, we just tagged it again. I would very much like to see a swing here, at which point I would be a little bit more comfortable rolling my stop. After getting tagged out a couple times already, I would really like to get a profitable trade in here. All right, at this point I should probably take the trade at least here to break even. Trying to nurse a trending market a little bit, or can be a little bit tricky. If you're going to try to run out a big move, you have to be prepared for these swings, right? There's always going to be swings. And somewhere through here, it's going to get to the point where it's just going to be a little bit too dear to me, and at which time I will start to roll my stops up more aggressively. Okay, well, we're starting to get to that point where I don't know if I want to let it swing too much against me. There we go. We'll go to this bar here. At this point, if it recovers, I'll go bar for bar. Yeah, okay, not quite. Not quite yet. But that's all right. It was a decent move all the same. At least we finally got outside of that sideways range. And in hindsight, I suppose I was a little bit too quick on some of those early trades. Well, here we go. A little bit of a holding pattern again. The tricky part at trying to get in at this point is stop placement, because a pullback to the hard edge, not beyond this market, I don't think. If you're running a great big stop, well, then by all means, you can pretty much buy in anywhere. But if you're trying to get by with a tighter stop, we may have to wait for a little bit more structure again, maybe a pullback to the hard edge. Ooh, there we go. There's a little bit of an uptick. It will be easier to buy into the market on a pullback, though. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. Like I said, unless you're prepared to run a really big stop, you could just jump in even off of this signal, off any of these signals, really. You could get on board, but your stop would have to be very, very deep, ideally below this 7,200 region, which is more or less where we began the day. Well, folks, if things don't shake up here shortly, we may just close up shop a little bit early. Like I said, you could buy in. There's nothing wrong with placing an order to buy up here. We do have, I think at this point, we can classify this as a bull market. Stops, however, initial stops anyways, like I said, need to go way down here. And that's going to be a little bit too rich for most people. But there it is. Personally, I think you're probably going to be better off waiting for a pullback of sorts, even if it means missing out. On the next leg up. All right, gang. I think we may close up shop here a little bit early. Oh, Paul coming to the rescue with a question. Great question here, actually, from Paul. He says, when trading the YM, that's the mini Dow, do you think the E-mini, the ES, is the driving force? You know, it's funny you should ask that. Well, it's not funny you should ask that. It's a fair question. People ask it all the time. Typically, the E-mini is not the leader, but the follower. You may actually have more luck looking at the NASDAQ and the mini Dow, looking for a sudden spike in the NASDAQ and the Dow, and you'll notice that more often than not, the E-mini will lag by at least a couple, 3 seconds. You don't have a lot of time to do this, but you do have a little bit of time. The late Marsh Jones, that was the way he traded. In fact, he didn't even trade a chart. He didn't even look at a chart. Rather, he watched the time and sales. Now, that's something that's going to make you go bug-eyed if you're not used to it. I think the service he used doesn't exist anymore, but essentially it was um, just a listing. So you had one line. I'm not sure if you could even, you might even be able to duplicate it on something like the market analyzer, but he had a line for the NASDAQ, a line for the Dow, and then a line for the E-mini, and he would be watching their um, their time and sales. And if he saw all of a sudden a big spike up in the trading of the NASDAQ and the Dow, he knew he had about 2, 3, 4 seconds to put an order in on the E-mini, that the E-mini was actually lagging the NASDAQ and the Dow. But the key component was that the NASDAQ and Dow be in sync. They had to be working together, not against each other. So, yeah, a lot of people think that the E-mini is actually the leader, but according to Marsh Jones anyways, it was the NASDAQ and the mini Dow that were taking the lead. But yeah, great question. Yeah, like Mark says, there's 3 different Superdomes, maybe. That would be an equivalent. Yeah, you could watch the Superdome. That's the, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, let me show you. So we've got, where did they put it now? Nope, 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 nope. Doggone it, they've moved everything around. Where's my dome? Oh, doggone it, Eric. You're looking right past it. Now, I always forget whether it's the static or the dynamic, but you'll find out. What you're going to do is you're going to open it up and you're going to select your instrument. Aha, okay, so it's the dynamic one. And this gives you a visual of the time and sales, and you can see how deep it goes. It actually goes much deeper than it used to. This is almost like a level 2, which is very interesting. And yeah, if you put this up and you put the MOI-M up next to it, and all of a sudden you saw a flurry in buying on the NASDAQ and a flurry in buying on the mini Dow that coincided, chances are pretty good you would have a few seconds to pop in a buy or sell order on the E-mini. Now, I've never traded it very much that way. I thought it was a very unique way of looking at the markets, and I did look at it more seriously about 10 years or so ago. But it didn't really suit my trading style, but still, it's an interesting indicator. You know, if it doesn't make you too buggy, you could even leave it up on your chart like this and see whether the signal that's producing is getting any interest from the marketplace. You can see here we're getting some big orders stacking. So it, in a way, oh, they've disappeared. Sometimes that's called spoofing. But if you see some big orders making the market a little bit lopsided, like let's say all of a sudden there's 249 orders up here instead of 49 orders, that would imply a lot of bullishness coming into the market. and that the market may well continue higher as a result. You've got a bunch of buy orders parking themselves up here. Mark said it would drive me nuts. Yeah, it can. It can certainly do that. You know, at the end of the day, it still goes back to the basics. It still goes back to interpreting what you see on the chart, having the confidence to trade what you see on the chart. You know, all these other little tools that we put on here, whether it's the Bollinger Suite or stochastics or ADX or whatever, it's just to help. It's just to help us make a trading decision. No more, no less. All right, the trading band getting a little bit broader, both here on the Eagle and the Raptor, makes me think we just might see a little bit of a pullback now to the hard edge. Bollinger's here on the Raptor already bearish. And certainly on the Hawk, the Hawk's getting a lot more bearish at this point. All right, everyone. Have a great day. If you're going to continue trading today, there's no denying the market is in an uptrend. I would expect a pullback here to the hard edge if you wanted to try a short-term reverse. But otherwise, look for an excuse to get long. Look for a move back to the hard edge. Look for a decent buying opportunity. And I think you'll probably do better with that. All right, I'll catch up with you tomorrow then. Bye for now.